In Star Trek's Requiem for Methuselah, we have an interesting episode. There's some little flaws. Well, not little. There's, but I don't care. It's another one that its charm wins it over, and it has certainly another great display. One of the biggest charms about it is the relationships between the big three of Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, and even in brief scenes, it's just really good stuff. So basically, the Enterprise, they've had a plague break out. Oh boy, imagine if that ever happened. Yeah. So they're desperate to come up with the medication to treat this, and fortunately, there's a nearby planet where they go to for that McCoy needs to collect the material to do so. They go there, and suddenly they encounter this flying robot that bears a striking resemblance to Nomad. Remember him? Oh, no, another one? But kind of the same thing, and their phasers are interoperative against it and all this sort of thing. Then this guy shows up, calling himself Flint, and, stops the robot from killing them and tells them to leave or he'll, destroy them or whatnot. And there's a bit of a standoff there. And Kirk says, I'll have the Enterprise attack you with phasers and all that stuff. So then Flint decides, all right, you got 2 hours to do what you got to do and, get the material you'll need for the antidote to the disease. And okay, they do. And then they head off to his house, which in the new effects and scenes they put in, which I appreciate in a lot of ways, but man, this thing looked really huge and elaborate. And then when you get to the interior, well, it's just a couple of rooms. But of course, it looks like what this guy would have done. And so right off the bat, I guess it's not a flaw per se, but it's just like, it turns out he's this immortal for whatever bizarre reason. They later discovered it had something to do with the atmosphere of Earth and the magnetic field and how it applied to him or what have you. But that, thousands of years ago, he had fell in a battle and but discovered he didn't die. So he went on, and he's accumulated so much knowledge over the years that he's a genius level intellect, and turns out he was Leonardo da Vinci. He just took on these different identities over the years. And he was Johannes Brahms and wrote music and all. I think it might have been better if he had just been a character who met these people and he had been around and he had been a witness to great moments in history and stuff like that. But then the likelihood that he saw all of it just because he was living at the time it happened is a bit remote. But either way, the idea that he was actually these guys. So then it goes on, and the works of Leonardo. Oh, well, he was that guy who lived forever. So, that's that. The other part of it is that the main plot here is that he's on this world, and then suddenly there's this young lady living with him, and of course Kirk sees her and zeroes in because he's Kirk, but it's love at first sight apparently. And that's the kind of the thing. I think it might have had more credibility had they set it up in a means by which they're on this planet for a couple of days or a while, and I imagine you would have had to come up with a means because they were running against the clock here. They had to hurry up and get the medication. If they didn't, then the crew it would be too late and they would die from the infection. And but some other means by which to be in this situation, I think, would hold up, because the virus and all that is not the point of the story. The story is that this woman, surprise, is an android that Flint has built because he wanted to construct another immortal woman to love him and be his mate for all eternity, apparently. And but he couldn't quite complete her humanity to make her, like she, for all intents and purposes, was a real woman. And there you see they discover the room where there's several different models that he had that didn't work out, and this one's the best one he's got. And so Flint manipulates things into where he sees that she's attracted to Kirk, and so he's trying to awaken her romantic tendencies. And so that, then he'll just get rid of Kirk, and then then she'll turn to him for her needs, Of course, this doesn't work because although she loves Flint, she only loves him as a father. And Kirk is this new young man who excited her and everything. So, but they start fighting over her, and she's not capable of comprehending this, to where the stress of it kills her. She collapses and dies. The interesting aspect of this is on the periphery of it all is Spock, who figures just about everything out. Of course, Spock tends to do so, but he even figures this out, and you can clue it into the idea of that he's, always so stoic and because of the Vulcan nature. But in the end, he's one of the more emotional characters in the show. And that's just how this plays out. But that he realizes how dangerous. He tries to tell them to stop this. It's it's gonna, and of course, because he understands the conflict of being of a person who he's fighting his emotions, but he also understands the pain that they cause for someone such as himself. And the girl here, the android Arena, she's brand new to this, and it's too much for her. And so it's an interesting play here, where the coldest of the batch is the one trying to warn them about of what they're doing, but they didn't understand that until it was too late. The other thing, of course, is the relationship between Kirk and Spock that's displayed here. And there's earlier instances of it where Spock is trying to protect Kirk because it's dawned on him what's going on here and who she is, and he's already suspected they're going to find the other androids that are dormant, We also get an indication of just how powerful Flint has become. He's able to shrink the Enterprise into a toy that sits on a table. Kirk's looking at it. What the hell? All that stuff. So Kirk never had anything that could go up against him. And once his plot's revealed, he's saying he's telling none of you can leave because I'll be interfered with and all that. So the stakes are there and everything, but ultimately it's all about the sadness of this girl who was on the verge of actually becoming a sentient being here, but it's too much for her to handle all at once like that. And so it's all very sad and everything. It's just the credibility to it is that I think you needed the time to add to it, because Kirk is, he's so horrified, and he loved her. He was in love with her, and now he's all sad and depressed, and and at the end wishing he could forget her and all this sort of stuff. It's like, well, he just met her. It'd be sort of, you met a pretty girl and she liked you, and then she dies, and it's all within a couple of hours. It's like, well, yeah, it's a bad thing, but I just don't think you'd be that devastated. But that's the point they get up to, where he's saying that, and he's exhausted, and he just sort of passes out in his quarters there. And then even Bones comes in, and he informs Spock that actually Flint is no longer immortal, because since he left the Earth, he's lost his ability, and he'll live out a normal life, but he won't live forever anymore. And at this point doesn't really want to, which is another interesting aspect. Had he been successful with Reno, was he going to go back to Earth with her? He was going to die. So I don't know, but the ultimate scene here is that even Bones says he feels so bad about Kirk, and he says, I just wish he could forget about her, and he leaves. And so Spock walks over to him, does a Vulcan mind meld, and tells him to forget. Which later a scene will be replayed between him and McCoy in Wrath of Khan, where he tells him to remember. But here, and that's the third thing. Spock does this out of compassion for Kirk, Kirk is in misery and pain over this woman he's lost, and he makes her forget her, and it's a complete violation of, the certainly his Vulcan ideals, I would think, but it's just he's moved to do it because he feels so bad. Yes, he feels for Kirk. And he's had his own experiences, with women and all this sort of thing, and he couldn't do it, and whatever, And he knows what the pain is, and he does this. And of course, Kirk is sitting there. I just wish I could forget. Well, he gets his wish, but it is that telltale sign of the ironies and whatnot. That's one of these things. Even an episode here that has some amount of failings in it. Even though the concepts are always good and that sort of thing, but it's kind of the saving grace here of just a very simple scene that comes out and displays so much depth of the overall relationships here between these men, and what Spock's willing to do in violation of his position as a first officer, in violation of his Vulcan teachings and stuff like that, where he's taken it upon himself to just erase this incident from Kirk's mind so that he doesn't suffer the pain and depression as a result of it. Had Kirk had the knowledge, he'd probably be irritated in some respects, but then again, you're in the middle of it, so maybe not. But, he doesn't remember anyway, so I guess it doesn't matter. But that's, this is one of those elements of the charm of Star Trek, the original series. Even when the other aspects of a particular episode were not as strong, it still has something of a vast interest in it. So there we are. Requiem for Methuselah. Thanks for watching and listening. Say, while you're still here, why not like and subscribe and share with your many friends? Yes. Also, check out my mini stores in the link description below. Yes, where you can get t-shirts, hats, mugs, all those goodies with my artwork on them. Oh, yeah. And head over to indieplanet.com and pick up a copy of my comic book, Night Night. Oh, yeah. You can also catch me at my podcast, Mr Nailsin Show, on RadioMisfits.com. And you can also watch my videos on BitChute.com and now on Rumble.com. Oh, my goodness. So many places to watch me and my stuff. Oh, yeah. And if that's not enough for you, well, you can follow me on many social media platforms and say hi to your old pal, Mr. Nailsin.